if anyone could take a person's life intentionally, should never see another day. And like, I would wish the death penalty, but unfortunately that's not here. So life in prison is the best bet.
This is Amanda Sharon Williams, a 46-year-old successful salon owner, beloved mother, grandmother, and hairstylist, known for lighting up every room she entered. But on October 9, 2023, her fiancé Tyrell Edwards shot her 6 times in their own bedroom while recording it on his cell phone, claiming self-defense despite evidence of years of abuse. Her family's fight for justice would expose the horrifying truth behind a relationship that looked perfect on social media, but was built on violence, control, and manipulation. At approximately 11:40 p.m. on October 9, 2023, the Warrensville Heights Police Department in Ohio received a chilling phone call that would shake their quiet suburban community to its core. Tyrell Edwards, 41 years old, called 911 to report that he had just killed his fiancée in their shared home. When officers arrived at the residence on Sunset Drive in Warrensville Heights, a suburb about 15 miles southeast of Cleveland, they prepared themselves for what they thought would be a straightforward domestic dispute. What they found was anything but ordinary. Amanda Williams lay motionless in the master bedroom with multiple gunshot wounds covering her body. Emergency medical services rushed to transport her to Cleveland Clinic South Point Hospital, but despite their best efforts, it was too late. Amanda was pronounced dead shortly after arrival. Edwards was immediately detained for questioning, and during the initial investigation, something unusual stood out to the responding officers. He had recorded the entire confrontation on his cell phone. Edwards claimed self-defense, stating that Amanda had threatened him with a kitchen knife and that he had no choice but to shoot her. But as investigators began to piece together the evidence, including photos of previous abuse found on Amanda's phone, text messages where Edwards apologized for kicking Amanda in the face, and witness testimony from Amanda's adult daughter who was in the home during the shooting, the picture became much darker. What appeared to be a case of self-defense was beginning to look like cold-blooded murder. But before that tragic night, let me take you back to how it all began. This is the tragic life and death of Amanda Sharon Williams. Amanda was a woman who radiated positivity, creativity, and genuine warmth to everyone she encountered. She was known throughout the Cleveland area for her generous spirit and infectious energy that could transform any room she walked into. Her pastor, Rob Vernon, who knew her well through their church community, described her as someone who could light up the room whenever she walked in. Amanda wasn't just a hairstylist working in someone else's salon. She was an entrepreneur and successful businesswoman who had built something from the ground up. She owned A La Mode Styles, a thriving salon in University Heights, Cleveland, where she was professionally known as Amanda the Stylist. Her clients didn't just come to her for haircuts and styling services. They came for her warmth, her creativity, her listening ear, and her genuine care for their well-being. Amanda was a devoted mother to her adult daughter Tyler Williams and her son Tristan Bentley. She was also a proud and loving grandmother who cherished every moment with her granddaughter. Amanda had played a crucial role in guiding her son Tristan to pursue his dreams and enroll in the United States Air Force Academy, one of the most prestigious military institutions in the country. She was family-oriented to her core, making every holiday special and memorable, serving as the glue that held her family together through good times and bad. Her social media pages were filled with heartfelt testimonials from clients, friends, and community members whose lives she had touched. Amanda was an amazing soul with an extremely creative mind and caring, giving heart, one friend wrote in a tribute. Another client called her a true hair boss who motivated everyone around her to pursue their dreams and be their best selves. She sacrificed daily for her children, worked tirelessly to build her business from the ground up, and remained deeply connected to her community and church family. Amanda and Tyrell Edwards began dating in 2017, and at first, their relationship seemed full of promise and potential for lasting happiness. Edwards moved into Amanda's home in Warrensville Heights in 2019, and by 2022, he had proposed and they were engaged to be married. They were planning their wedding together and had even completed premarital counseling through their church, which seemed like a positive sign to their friends and family. When Edwards later testified about their relationship during the trial, he described it as pretty good. Their social media was filled with images of a seemingly perfect couple, smiling together at events, celebrating milestones, and appearing to be deeply in love. Friends and acquaintances who followed them online saw what looked like a fairy tale romance between a successful businesswoman and her devoted fiancé. But behind the filter of those perfect posts, behind the carefully curated images and happy captions, not all that glitters is gold. Behind closed doors, a much darker reality was unfolding. According to Amanda's family members and her pastor, there was a terrifying pattern of abuse that had been escalating for years. Evidence that would later be uncovered during the investigation revealed that Tyrell Edwards had been physically abusing Amanda throughout their relationship. Photos on Amanda's phone showed visible injuries from beatings she had endured. Text messages discovered during the investigation included Edwards apologizing for kicking Amanda in the face, a horrifying admission of violence that he apparently felt comfortable putting in writing. Pastor Ra Vernon, who knew the couple through their church and had conducted their premarital counseling sessions, later revealed what the family had been witnessing but felt powerless to stop. The evidence is pictures of him beating the hell out of her, literally. Text messages saying, "I'm sorry I kicked you in the face," Vernon told reporters after the murder. He described what investigators found as a clear and unmistakable pattern of abuse and manipulation that had been ongoing throughout the relationship. Edwards exhibited classic controlling behavior and jealousy that are hallmarks of abusive relationships. He monitored Amanda's communications obsessively, became enraged over perceived slights or moments when she didn't respond immediately to his messages, and showed possessiveness that gradually isolated Amanda from fully sharing her struggles with the people who loved her. Despite her success as a business owner and her strong community ties through church and her salon, Amanda found herself trapped in an abusive relationship with the man she had said yes to marrying. It all started when Amanda didn't respond quickly enough to a text message from Edwards, a seemingly innocent act that would unknowingly lead to Amanda's tragic fate. On October 9, 2023, Amanda had been away on a work trip to Columbus for her salon business. Throughout the day, Edwards and Amanda exchanged increasingly tense text messages that revealed the controlling and volatile nature of their relationship. He accused her of deliberately ignoring his messages and lying to him about not seeing his texts. In what appears to have been an act of retaliation and an attempt to assert some control in the relationship, Amanda suspended Edwards' cell phone service. What began as an argument over text messages and phone service escalated into a confrontation that would turn deadly by the end of the night. When Amanda returned home that evening after her business trip, Edwards later claimed that he had moved past the day's disagreements and was ready to let it go. But Amanda had not moved past it, and she had apparently reached her breaking point with Edwards' behavior. She asked him to leave their home, telling him multiple times that she wanted him out of the house. Edwards refused to leave despite her repeated requests. According to his own testimony given during the trial, Amanda warned him with chilling words. "If you do stay here tonight, you're going to have to sleep with one eye open," she told him. Instead of taking this as a clear sign to leave and give both of them space to cool down, Edwards made a series of decisions that would prove fatal. He retrieved 2 firearms that he kept in his nightstand drawer and placed them in his car outside, claiming later that he was afraid he might use them on Amanda if he kept them in the house. But then, incredibly, he came back inside the house. He had every opportunity to grab his work badge, pack some clothes, get in his car where he had just placed his guns, and leave. Edwards testified that Amanda came upstairs from the kitchen carrying a knife, and he pulled out his cell phone and began recording 3 separate videos of the confrontation. In the first video that was later played in court, Edwards can be heard asking Amanda, "You gonna stab me?" Amanda responds clearly, "I'm going to defend myself." But video evidence that Edwards himself recorded shows Amanda setting the knife down on a hallway ledge, directly contradicting Edwards' claim that she was actively wielding it in a threatening manner toward him. But Amanda, who was a fighter and had endured years of abuse, wouldn't go down without a fight. As the confrontation continued and moved into their bedroom, Edwards grabbed a gun that Amanda kept under the mattress on her side of the bed for protection. Without giving any warning, without telling Amanda that he had a weapon, without giving her any chance to de-escalate or retreat, he opened fire. 6 shots rang out in rapid succession, the sound captured on the cell phone video that Edwards was still recording. One bullet struck Amanda and paralyzed her from the neck down, meaning she could no longer physically hold the knife that Edwards claimed she was threatening him with when he pulled the trigger. She was shot in the back as she apparently tried to move away from him. She was shot in the neck. The fatal wounds ensured she had no chance of survival, no chance to call for help, no chance to say goodbye to her children. The medical examiner would later determine that Amanda suffered 8 separate wounds from the 6 shots Edwards fired. Amanda's adult daughter Tyler, who lived in the home with her own young daughter, heard the gunshots and rushed upstairs from her bedroom in terror. Edwards physically blocked her from entering the bedroom where her mother lay dying, telling her to go downstairs and call an ambulance. When Tyler went outside to check if emergency services had arrived, Edwards locked her out of the house, trapping her outside while her mother took her final breaths. "I was not able to help my mom, hold her, nothing," Tyler tearfully testified later during the trial. She couldn't comfort her mother in her final moments, couldn't hold her hand, couldn't tell her she loved her one last time, couldn't even attempt to render aid that might have saved her life. Amanda was found unresponsive in the bedroom by first responders. She died from her injuries shortly after arriving at the hospital, leaving behind 2 children, a granddaughter, and a community that loved her deeply. Emergency responders arrived at the Sunset Drive home to find Amanda with multiple gunshot wounds and no signs of life. What initially might have seemed like a straightforward domestic dispute that had tragically escalated quickly transformed into a murder investigation as detectives processed the scene. While investigators were carefully documenting evidence and processing the crime scene, they already had their primary suspect in custody. Edwards himself had called 911 around 11:40 p.m., confessing that he had just killed his fiancé. In footage recorded from inside the police cruiser in the hours after the shooting, Edwards could be heard telling an officer, "I just threw my life away." He was initially detained for questioning at the police station, where he would undergo hours of interrogation. During his interrogation conducted by Lieutenant Paris Johnson and other detectives, Edwards maintained his claim of self-defense. He insisted that Amanda had attacked him with a knife first and that he had no choice but to shoot her to protect himself. However, when officers conducted a thorough examination of Edwards' body, looking for injuries consistent with his story of being attacked with a knife, they found only a small tear in his shirt and a light scratch on his neck. He was otherwise completely uninjured, with no defensive wounds, no stab wounds, no significant cuts or bruises, despite claiming to have been in a violent knife attack where he feared for his life. The lack of injuries raised immediate red flags for investigators about the validity of his self-defense claim. After 48 hours of investigation, Edwards was released from custody when prosecutors initially determined there was insufficient evidence to charge him with a crime at that time. This decision sparked immediate outrage among Amanda's family, friends, and the broader Cleveland community, who knew the truth about the abuse she had endured. They couldn't believe that the man who had shot Amanda 6 times was walking free while she lay in the morgue. Amanda's family, friends, and community members refused to accept the initial decision to release Edwards without charges. They organized and marched into Warrensville Heights Police Headquarters with additional evidence they had gathered, including photos of previous abuse injuries Amanda had sustained, text messages documenting Edwards' violence and controlling behavior, and witness statements from people who had seen the abuse firsthand. Pastor Ra Vernon publicly called for justice, presenting evidence to media outlets and prosecutors showing an unmistakable pattern of abuse and manipulation. The community pressure and additional evidence forced the investigation to intensify and expand. Prosecutors carefully reviewed the 3 cell phone videos Edwards had recorded on the night of the murder, forensic evidence collected from the crime scene, the medical examiner's detailed autopsy report, and powerful testimony from Tyler Williams about what she had witnessed. The medical examiner confirmed that Amanda had been shot 6 times, resulting in 8 separate wounds to her body due to bullet trajectory and fragmentation. One wound in particular would prove crucial to dismantling Edwards' self-defense claim. Amanda had been shot in a way that would have paralyzed her completely from the neck down, making it physically impossible for her to hold a weapon or pose any threat. The fatal shots were to her back and neck, suggesting she was trying to retreat or turn away when Edwards fired. Additionally, the evidence showed that Edwards had made absolutely no attempt to render medical aid to Amanda after shooting her, and he had actively prevented her daughter from helping her or even being with her as she died. On November 1, 2023, nearly a full month after Amanda's death, a Cuyahoga County grand jury returned an indictment charging Tyrell Edwards with serious felonies. The charges included 1 count of aggravated murder, 2 counts of murder, 2 counts of felonious assault, and 1 count of domestic violence. An arrest warrant was issued on November 2nd. Edwards surrendered to police the following morning on November 3, 2023. Edwards was arraigned at the Cuyahoga County Justice Center, where he entered a plea of not guilty to all charges. The charges against him were extremely serious and carried the potential for life in prison without the possibility of parole. His trial began on February 26, 2024, before Cuyahoga County Common Pleas Court Judge Stephen E. Gall Edwards made the decision to take the stand in his own defense on March 1st, maintaining his claim that he shot Amanda in self-defense. He testified that he was scared for his life, that Amanda had lunged at him with a knife in a threatening manner, and that he had no choice but to shoot her to protect himself from imminent death or serious bodily harm. He claimed he pulled the trigger 4 or 5 times while jumping back to avoid her alleged knife attack. But prosecutors systematically dismantled his defense piece by piece. They played the cell phone videos Edwards had recorded, which showed Amanda setting the knife down rather than wielding it threateningly. They presented medical evidence showing Amanda was shot in the back, which is inconsistent with someone lunging forward in an attack. They called Tyler Williams to testify about being physically blocked and then locked out of the house while her mother lay dying on the bedroom floor. They showed that Edwards had multiple opportunities to leave the house with his guns already secured in his car, but chose to stay and escalate the situation instead. They pointed out that Edwards showed no apparent emotion on the video recording after the gunshots rang out. On March 4, 2024, after 4 days of trial testimony and evidence presentation, the jury retired to deliberate on the charges. They reached a verdict after careful consideration of all the evidence. Tyrell Edwards was found guilty of 2 counts of murder, 2 counts of felonious assault, and 1 count of domestic violence. He was acquitted only on the single charge of aggravated murder, which requires proof of prior calculation and design. 1 week later, on March 11, 2024, Judge Gall held a sentencing hearing where Amanda's family would finally have the opportunity to address Edwards directly. Judge Gall sentenced Edwards to life in prison with eligibility for parole after 24 years. The sentence was structured as life with eligibility for parole after 15 years on the murder conviction, plus an additional 9 years for firearm specifications related to his convictions on murder, felonious assault, and domestic violence. The shock of Amanda's death sent ripples of grief through her family, friends, and the entire Cleveland community that she had touched with her kindness. Hundreds of people attended her homegoing service at the Word Church in Warrensville Heights, coming together to celebrate a woman who had impacted so many lives through her generosity, creativity, and genuine love for others. They came to mourn the loss of a light that had been extinguished far too soon by senseless violence. Amanda's brother, Joey Lewis, delivered a powerful victim impact statement during Edwards' sentencing hearing that captured the family's pain and anger. "Judge, I can't lie. We're hurting," he said with raw emotion. "She was like a second mother to me." He described Edwards as a wolf in sheep's clothing and said he was grateful he had met Edwards because now he could protect his own daughter from people like him. "I can't forgive him for this," Lewis stated firmly. Amanda's daughter Tyler spoke through tears about the permanent void left in their lives and the future moments her mother would never see. "I just can't stomach the fact that I have to live the rest of my life without my mom," she said, her voice breaking. "My daughter has to live the rest of her life without her grandma because a coward wanted to take her life." She spoke about all the milestones her mother would miss, her granddaughter starting kindergarten, turning 5, becoming a teenager, Tyler's own 30th birthday, and countless other precious moments. Amanda's son, Tristan Bentley, who was 21 years old and attending the prestigious United States Air Force Academy, submitted a written statement that was read aloud by the family's attorney. "I learned a million things from her, even if it was not an intentional lesson," he wrote. "She showed me what a sophisticated woman looked like in this world. With her being such a family-oriented person, holidays were very important. Now holidays just have an empty void without her being a light in the room." As for the case, it serves as a stark reminder of the deadly intersection of domestic violence and firearms access. This underscores the importance of recognizing warning signs in relationships and taking action before it's too late. Amanda's case highlighted several critical red flags that everyone should watch for. Controlling behavior over communications, as Edwards became enraged over text messages and controlled Amanda's phone service. Physical violence that was documented through photos and Edwards's own text messages apologizing for violent acts. Isolation tactics that made it difficult for Amanda to fully reveal the extent of abuse despite her strong community ties. Escalation after attempts to leave, as Amanda asked Edwards to leave multiple times on the night she was killed, but he refused, and violence escalated. Threats and intimidation, as Edwards' comment about Amanda needing to sleep with one eye open was a clear threat of violence. These warning signs are present in many abusive relationships, and recognizing them could save lives. How do we prevent other stories like Amanda's from becoming a tragic reality in our communities? How many more women need to lose their lives before we take domestic violence seriously as a society? What are the red flags we're missing in our friends and family members' relationships that could help us intervene before it's too late? If you or someone you know is experiencing domestic violence, please reach out to the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233 for confidential support and resources. Amanda Williams was a light that was extinguished far too soon by a man who claimed to love her. Her children lost their mother, their motivator, their guide, and the glue that held their family together. Her granddaughter will grow up without knowing the grandmother who would have spoiled her and cheered for her at every milestone. Her community lost a talented businesswoman who gave back generously. The world lost a bright soul who made everyone around her feel special and loved. Edwards' sentence of life with parole eligibility after 24 years means he could potentially walk free someday and have a second chance at life. Amanda's family will never have that option. Their sentence is forever. In November 2024, Edwards' legal team filed an appeal challenging his conviction. The 8th District Court of Appeals unanimously affirmed his conviction and sentence, with prosecutor Michael O'Malley stating that Tyrell Edwards purposefully murdered Amanda Williams and tried to utilize a fake self-defense claim to cover up his actions. Rest in peace, Amanda Sharon Williams, a devoted mother, proud grandmother, successful business owner, and beloved friend to so many. Gone but never forgotten. Let her story be a catalyst for change, for awareness, and for action in the fight against domestic violence.